Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together, we can forge a more militant NALC.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier, with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. I just got through that joint podcast about heat safety. That one there is a marathon. It was set up by Next Generation Carriers, and it had a huge all-star list of podcasters. It ended up being 3 hours long, but it was fun. And we had a surprise guest speaker in the Director of Health and Safety, Mana Peralta. If you get a chance, go ahead and listen to it. Let's keep each other safe this year. Heat safety is very important. As talked about before, today's episode isn't going to be the wealth of a slam dunk grievance knowledge that it usually is. Today, we will be talking about contentions for undelivered mail. If you prefer to tune out for that reason, I don't blame you, but I think you should hear this out. Early next week, I will be having my interview with Richie Ray. So, that's what you'll get next week. But today, you'll get my undelivered mail contentions. Essentially, what I believe to be a grievance as it pertains to undelivered mail, National and Region 6 do not believe to be a grievance. This is why I'm telling you guys this is an opinion piece. If you use my contentions, don't expect to win your case, because National doesn't necessarily support these contentions. Nonetheless, I think it's our duty to grieve this issue, because in the long run, it could transform our job. As you may already know, our union has been enjoying the best of both worlds for 50 years. We separated from the government in 1970 with the Postal Reorganization Act, yet we are somehow part of the government as a pseudo-entity. With that separation came our ability to negotiate wages, something that Congress was in control of prior to 1970. Something that hurt us a lot because we had to beg all the time for good wages, and we never got it. But also, with that separation came self-dependability. We were no longer under the government's dime. In the past, we have needed injections to stay alive, and every year we run in the negative. At some point, the American public will have to make a choice. Do they enjoy the service enough that we provide to give us the subsidies in order to keep us afloat occasionally and keep us in this limbo between both worlds of being a government and not government? Or do they not care for us and allow for the transformation of us into something that is easier to make profit, such as reduction delivery days or something else? This undelivered mail issue will no doubt play a role in public opinion. People are furious when they do not get their mail, especially if they're waiting for something. This issue is eroding the faith that the public has in their mail system, and if we stand idly by while this issue creates havoc, we will likely find ourselves without public support when the time comes for the American public to make a choice to allow subsidization. I'm not talking about getting swept up under the government's wing again. I really hope that doesn't happen, although I think that's the most likely solution that they're going to come up with. First, I'll go over what's going on in my area. Then, I'll tell you my contentions that I have developed for this issue. If I'm missing anything, please feel free to contact me on Parcels of Knowledge Facebook in order to let me know how I may strengthen these contentions. Like I have said in the last podcast episode, this is the type of grievance that is integral to our craft. If I have filed 1,000 times and have lost all of them, I am still filing that 1,001 time. They will have to change the law for me to stop filing, because this is one of those issues that is fundamental to the health of our career. Over here, in Roseville, Michigan, something has been happening, and I think I've heard it's been happening in a lot of places. Now I know I've heard it from other people. Since at least January, they have implemented a false window of operation and have instilled a return time of 6 p.m., which is the time most of us start to earn penalty rate. You know, our schedule is 8 to 4:30. Most of us skip a break, so 6 p.m. is the time where we just hit 10 hours for the most part. And that's by design. About 30 times this year, that window of operation has trumped our mail delivery, and they have told carriers to bring back the mail just to let it sit on the floor for the next day. Whole neighborhoods have gone without mail delivery, sometimes for days, all in the name of saving a couple dollars. You know, they don't want to spend that $50 in penalty, so they're going to determine that, you know, this girl over here who lives in this house, she don't get her check today. And this person over here, they don't get their bills. You know, it's stupid. And sometimes it's a few loops. Sometimes it's half a fucking route. But in all these situations, at least a whole loop or more has gone undelivered. And the customers are furious. On my route alone, they have at least 10 people who are constantly wondering whether or not they're going to get their mail. They are usually the older crowd, the kind that still pay their bills and balance their checkbooks physically, without the use of technology. This problem has only been made worse with the USPS taking the stance that slowing down the mail stream is necessary for them to save money. I have a lady on my route that constantly comes to me saying, I really don't trust my mail delivery anymore. I'm supposed to be getting these things and they come weeks later. And she's furious, but she doesn't know what to do because they're a silent minority. You know, they could be a little bit talkative to us, but they don't know how to use technology. So they're not making reports to USPS. They're not the squeaky wheel. So they're very upset and they don't know what to do. I have spoken to my RAA and he has told me it's not a grievance. He told me that they can curtail whole routes for all he cares. It's not a grievance. And that's because he's lost a handful of them. I don't think we should have this defeatist attitude. When we lose, we come back with a better case file until we win. He's been saying that management has been curtailing mails for years, and that it has been an issue for quite some time, and that the only thing we could do is report it to my MBA's office. They say if I report enough of it, that we will become a PTF office. But the issue is that isn't a solution. So what? We have PTFs and still have undelivered mail? Management's doing this to avoid penalty. Probably it's an incentive from the district manager in order to earn their bonus or something dumb like that shit. That's the problem with the way our system works. They set unrealistic goals just so they can get bonuses. And when your only path forward isn't a path forward, sometimes you need to think outside the box in order to achieve some results that are useful. I have devised contentions, and I think they're viable. I think that the right arbitrator, they might be convinced that it's a violation. But as with anything, no one is perfect. So if you guys have anything that would improve my contentions, please share that with me over on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook, or you can send it to my email, rosevillewreckingball@yahoo.com. But without further ado, consider the following contentions. Article 3 gives management general authority to manage their operations. Yet, Article 3 limits management's authority to not be in conflict with the contract or, subsequently, the law. Undelivered mail is in conflict with the law. In particular, consider the following provisions. The first one comes from 39 U.S. Code 101, Section A and B. Section A. The United States Postal Service shall be operated as a basic and fundamental service provided to the people by the government of the United States, authorized by the Constitution, created by Act of Congress, and supported by the people. The Postal Service shall have its basic function the obligation to provide postal services to bind the nation together through the personal, educational, literary, and business correspondence of the people. It shall provide prompt, reliable, and efficient services to patrons in all areas, and shall render postal services to all communities. The costs of establishing and maintaining the postal service shall not be apportioned to impair the overall value of such service to the people, such as trying to save penalty. That's not in the law. I'm just saying that. Section B. The Postal Service shall maintain an integrated network for the delivery of market-dominant and competitive products, as defined in Chapter 36 of this title. Delivery shall occur at least 6 days a week, except during weeks that include a federal holiday. In emergency situations such as natural disasters or in geographic areas where the Postal Service has established a policy of delivering mail fewer than 6 days a week as of the date of enactment of the Postal Service Reform Act of 2022. So let's pause right here, and I just want to make a comment. When I tell my RAA that 6 days a week means every address, he tells me I'm wrong. And I said, well, why don't you get the intent from the people who wrote it? Because I guarantee you, most Congress people won't admit to their constituents that when they say 6 days a week, they don't mean every house 6 days a week. Because that's just stupid. They don't want to kill their own ability to get re-elected. But he claims that we wrote it. So why don't we just fucking say that? But anyway, I'll go back to quoting the law. The Postal Service shall provide a maximum degree of effective and regular postal services to rural areas, communities, and small towns where postal services are not self-sustaining. No small post office shall be closed solely for operating at a deficit. It being the specific intent of the Congress that effective postal services be ensured to residents of both urban and rural communities. Let me ask you something. What part of effective postal services can be found in arbitrarily stopping somebody's service because I don't want to pay penalty? I don't understand how that can possibly be effective postal services to both urban and rural communities. Going on, I'm going to quote one more U.S. code. This one's more self-explanatory, so I'm not going to talk so much about it, but 18 U.S. Code 1703. Whoever being a postal service officer or employee unlawfully secretes, destroys, detains, delays, or opens any letter, postal card, package, bag, or mail entrusted to him, or which shall come into his possession, and which was intended to be conveyed by mail or carried or delivered by any carrier or other employee of the Postal Service, or forwarded or delivered from any post office or station thereof, established by the authority of the Postmaster General of the Postal Service, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. Come on, that's perfect for the district people. They need that. Whoever being a Postal Service officer or employee improperly detains, delays, or destroys any newspaper, or permits any other person to detain, delay, or destroy the same, or opens or permits any other person to open any package or any mail or package of newspapers not directed to the office where he is employed, or whoever without authority opens or destroys any mail or package of newspapers not directed to him, shall be fined this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. Come on, postal inspectors. This is just calling your name. Come on over here. Roosevelt's got plenty of that going on. So in summation, when you have carriers who are ready, willing, and able to deliver first-class mail, and you choose not to, you are in violation of these laws. The issue statement I would come up here was, did management violate Article 3 via 39 U.S. Code 101 and or 18 U.S. Code 1703 and or Article 8.5 in the distribution of overtime and or mail delivery or lack thereof, And if so, what's the appropriate remedy? That would be my issue statement. The first law, which established the Postal Service as it stands today and becomes reformed over time, such as the Postal Accountability Act and the Postal Reform Act, says that it's our duty to provide prompt, reliable, and efficient services to the public, and that the cost of maintaining the services we provide shall not be apportioned to impair the value of our service. Your refusal to pay overtime by choosing to not deliver whole communities is in violation of this provision. What part of not delivering to whole communities in such an arbitrary fashion represents the notion of prompt or reliable delivery? There are laws and consequences for these actions, such as U.S. Code 1703. 18 U.S. Code 1703. As these are laws that affect our wages, hours, and working conditions, these are grievable under Article 3. Your actions under Article 3's jurisdiction were in conflict with the law, so it becomes a grievable offense. Because there is a list of carriers available up to 12 hours per day on any given day, you have bodies ready, willing, and able to deliver this mail. This mail went undelivered because of self-imposed goals that do nothing but destroy the faith of the Postal Service with the American public. We depend on the American public to use our services in order to make a living wage. Therefore, you are making a negative impact on our futures and the future of the Postal Service. This is a direct violation of most notably the provision of 39 U.S. Code 101 that says the cost of establishing and maintaining the Postal Service shall not be apportioned to impair the overall value of such service to the people. When I filed this grievance and I let it go up, I was planning that when I send this one out, I will interview the postal patrons on my route and on other routes that have suffered as a result of them not wanting to pay penalty. I was planning on asking them whether or not they feel that the USPS has apportioned their maintenance costs in order to impair the overall value of the service we provide to them. I know they have a lot to say, and they will speak volumes about this. I suggest you do the same. I also went and looked up comments on Google, that business thing that Google has that talks about the Postal Service. If you look up your profile, and you can actually see public comments talking about this type of stuff, and you can print them and use them in your case about how the Postal Service has been failing us in terms of the American public's faith and whether or not they support us. Additionally, for persuasive value, there's a prior attached OIG report that I used, and I talked about it. It's on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook. You can get it there, where the service agrees that this is in violation of the law and that all first-class mail needs to be delivered upon the date of receiving in accordance with our national color code policy. Also, I would attach C18933 and C33686. That's just a couple of the arbitrations that show management's investment in delivery of first-class mail and how they think that this should result in loss of someone's job. The service, as much as they have the right to manage, they cannot pick and choose when or how delivery of first-class mail needs to happen. They can, but they have already chosen a side, and in this case, they're just moving the goalpost because all of a sudden it doesn't fit their preference or their district goals. This is just like what I was talking about when it comes to consistent enforcement of the contract. Same with consistent enforcement of this law. When a carrier fails to deliver first-class mail or hides it or throws it away, and they say this is worth their job, and now all of a sudden they say, well, I have the right to do it. I have the right to do it. It hurts their value that they place on delivery of the first-class mail. They can't have it both ways. It's either they feel like it needs to be delivered upon receiving, or they don't. They can't just say, I'm going to move the goalpost over and over and over. We need to hold them on to this. I think arbitrators will support it. One other thing I'd like to talk about is, like I said before, this isn't a slam dunk verified winner of a case. In fact, it goes against what National would prefer us to do. But I do not care, because I think it's absolutely worthy of sharing. Undelivered mail, especially as a result of saving on penalty, is absolutely a fucking grievance. We should all be filing this. I don't care what any arbitrator says. If they say it's not a grievance, fuck them. Let National know what really is important here. If they do not snap into reality, it will hit them like a freight train when it transformed the Postal Service into something we do not wish to see. Please, National, be more reactive to losing cases of this nature. Remove arbitrators for decisions that are unfavorable of this nature. Send a very clear message that if you rule in that manner, you will be removed from the panel. We need your assistance on this. It's critical for our future. One other thing I'd like to mention before I let you guys go. If you can get this settled in-house, do it. Not only do I want to mention that, but one thing that arbitrators have done in the past, if the local level sees that it's a violation, especially at Formal A, but if you can get the local level to see that it's a violation, then some arbitrators will say, hey, it's very clear that the parties at the local level think this is a violation, so it is a violation. We've seen that with like LDC 1 and 2 cases. They've had the most success when they've had a cluster of settlements within house. And then the arbitrator becomes more convinced that, yes, the local parties view it as a violation, so it is a violation. And I also want to make sure when management does these grievances, when management does this undelivered mail shit, they need to be reporting it in the DCV. The instructions of the DCV tell them that it's very important and that it saves money. And that OIG report was done probably because of a result of they made this DCV thing and management refused to use it, so they made a investment of money that was useless. So they got mad at the managers. Make sure, A, you carriers need to be reporting these with 1571s. Every time you bring back mail, 1571, 1571, 1571. That's a fucking important PS form and needs to be utilized. Do it. Needs to happen now. Yesterday it needs to happen. And retain a copy, because we can't expect management to be doing that. I think that they're not even going to report it. That's a separate grievance that National does support. They need to be reporting this in the DCV. And that goes hand in hand with the fact that you need to be asking for undelivered mail. We're not there all the time. Hopefully you have someone on the ODL stewards who can tell you, hey, they left this route today and this other route and 3 loops off of this route, because you need someone there to do that at the end of the day. Because management will do everything they can to hide it. So hopefully you could develop a relationship with somebody who's there, who likes overtime, who's there at the end of the day. I have Jeff Krul at my office. He's a fucking fantastic guy. I just want to give him some kudos for working with management to get the undelivered mail and how much they have on each route, working with management to get that done. But you can't work with management in every office, so we need at least somebody who's going to report it to the stewards. But that's all I got to say about the issue. Hopefully, if you got anything to add, you can help me develop my contentions, and I'll share them with everybody else as well. But I hope you learned something valuable today. And as always, have a good day, letter carriers.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.
You would think this guy has been around for 30 fucking years. That's how good he is.